Well, I want to welcome everybody to the Palos Verdes Art Center. I'm Gail Finney. I'm the Community Engagement Director, and it is my privilege to introduce our artist, Robin Jack Sarner, and to welcome you all to this artist talk. Before we get started, I just wanted to give you some specifics here. Best rooms are right behind you in the hallway. Come on in, have a seat. And if it's a slightly moderated discussion format, but it's very informal. So at any point, if you want to ask a question, raise your hand, make a comment, jump in, redirect, talk about a specific work of art or what have you, feel free. We want this to be very interactive opportunity here. So, Robin Jack Sarner is a Los Angeles-based artist working in the tradition of abstract expressionism. She is classically trained and holds a BS in art education from Florida Southern College, where she received the Albert Key Award for highest honors. After working in business management and raising a family, she returns to her first passion, art. Sarner's work has been exhibited locally and internationally with exhibitions and awards in California, Florida, New York, and Germany. Sarner is an active member of the Artist Studio, which is our cooperative shop that's right next door. Please visit it on your way now. And a passionate advocate for arts education. And I will say on a personal note, I've known Robin for quite a few years, and I am so grateful for her participation and volunteer enthusiasm with our Art at Your Fingertips program. And now Robin has graduated from being a volunteer docent to being a contributing artist. And just this past month, about 6,000 students did one of her projects, which was based on Mark Robin. So we're very indebted to Robin for her amazing talent, this particular showcase, and also the gifts she gives us through her art education. So it's a very basic bio, and I was wondering if we could just start by having you elaborate a little bit about your personal journey and your artistic journey. So you started in Florida. Tell us a little bit about your journey coming to Southern California.
Right. Thank you for coming. I appreciate all of you being here, being interested in the work and what it has to say, what I might have to say. Some of you come from very far, so I really appreciate you being here, first of all. Yes, I'm a Floridian. I grew up in Miami and had beautiful color all around me, but my father introduced me to the West, and I quickly moved out of Florida to the West Coast via Arizona, Utah, Wyoming, and then here. So I had a lot of fun going to different periods of time in my life in different states, and that informed a lot of the palette that you see on the walls, from very bright and earth tones. And I find that there's a lot of that still living in the work, and it continues to live on and work. I decided when I was 7, I was going to be an artist. I knew from that moment, and especially when my parents were observant and aware enough to say this is something that she likes to do. They got me lessons. In fact, my mom is here, so you coming from Florida, and encouraging. And that landed me into art classes in high school and art classes in college. And I found that with the undesirable market at the time, being an art teacher was probably the best bet instead of trying to be a starving artist. So I ended up my education degree. But in 91, when I graduated, the landscape for art, music, and key in the school system had died. So I went into finance, and I worked in insurance, selling large employee benefit plans. And that actually, I didn't think had anything to do with my work, but it helps me be a good business person and be comfortable around people. I've been told I have a good handshake, so that helps. And then once I became a mom, that was my job. I spent 25 years just doing that and gradually working my way back into my art beat through the program that Gail was talking about as a parent docent. And then decided I have a degree in education. Why don't I try to make some of these projects? And I really wanted to introduce women into the program. I wanted to introduce abstract art into the program. And doing that actually catapulted me into really feeling that I missed my art life. And I started taking classes. And here we are. And now I'm producing because they are grown and out of the house. And this is all I do now is make art. I asked my husband, there are 87 pieces of art in our living room. So I need to do something soon because
Sparrows Act reminds me, all of the work here is for sale.
yes, yeah. Please take me in
The work is on this list hanging outside, so don't hesitate. If you have any questions about that or are interested in making a purchase, come see me or Adam downstairs.
Yes. Yeah. Marketing. Now the work is about when I was thinking about you guys approached me about a show and I thought, oh my God, this is my first time ever really having an important show. What is this going to be about? And all I could think about was I've arrived again at a point in my life where the art and the creating of art is so important. And the emergence part of the Echoes and Emergence is that the flavor of re-entry into your passion. So the Echoes is about carrying your past with you, but not as a ball and chain, but as something that informs your future self that you choose to be. And the emergence part is about the becoming. So you are right at the intersection of the beginning of the new becoming. And that's what this whole show is about, is where I've come to this point. So a lot of it's a little different from each other, and some of it is a lot like each other. And strangely enough, when it was being curated by Daniela, the executive director, she found that my earlier work and the now work had a lot of similarities. And I found that fascinating. So the going forward work is going to be about the honest gesture, the exploration of how gesture and the nervous system moves, because I'm finding it's just in work. I can't avoid it. So that is going to be my next investigation. But you are seeing the culmination of about 8 years of my life and these three legs. Yes.
Here's the question. I was lying down here for about 8 years and painted with you. And I'm very curious about what it was like before those 8 years, because you said that this represents 8 years of art. Did you ever do things that weren't abstract expressionists, that weren't
Thank you, Sarah. Sarah is a classmate of mine. I do have a few years, though. It's so nice they're able to see this professor. But I worked prior to abstract work. And that's a good question, because why did I weave into abstraction? I was classically trained and technically trained to draw and be realistic, but I found that to be boring. I felt like, okay, I can do a bowl of fruit and I could do a snake and I could do a tree and all those things, but I want to do what's in my head and in my heart. And I was experiencing a lot of anxiety as a child. We all have our childhood experiences that inform our life now and our decisions. And that anxiousness culminated in this gestural, feverish type of work that then it was illuminating to me, because I could work it out of my body, and it was became I became involved with it. And I found that sitting there, literally sitting and doing things, was not my way. I need to be standing. These are small. I need to be engulfed in the work, and I need it to feel as though I'm working out the anxiety. And by doing the small stuff, it became boring. It became not who I was, because I was copying something. I thought it was more interesting to come up with something in your heart and your head. It's more that. Yes. It's a real honest approach to art. I mean, you can say a photograph is really honest. It is what it is. But I feel like a gesture is one of the most honest things that can happen on a canvas or a substrate of any kind. So
I wonder if we can explore that a little bit, because abstract expressionism as a movement, there's so much physical engagement in the act of painting. And tell us a little bit more about why you chose that particular style of painting and who your specific influences are.
abstract expressionism became an interest of mine because of material. I mean, I kept seeing, for example, Rauschenberg stick a chair to a canvas, and I thought, well, that's kind of cool. I didn't know it could do that. So it was the breaking of the rules that attracted me to the abstract expressionism. And expressing was really important to me. So it was a way for me to express my own way without having to follow the rules. So that was the lead into catching the fever of that movement. The let's see, the influences most that stand out most to me that still echo in my studio are Joe Angel because of her gestures, Rauschenberg because he just says nothing's impossible. Actually, David Korn because he takes what you see and compresses it into different visual realities that I find fascinating. I really love Helen Frankfurter because she felt she could create fields of color, and that's how I see my life. All the time, I'm always observing color in my world. And not William Depending's wife, but she herself, Elaine, was such a fanatic about capturing the moment, and that presentness in her work was really important to me. But most of all, Rafto, because he based a lot of his work on emotion, and that is where my whole life changed. Sure, I could get gestures out and get anxiety out, but connecting emotionally with something became my material. It became my language. It became my way of having a conversation with you, the public. Because like his work, you want to feel something when you look at something. You want to appreciate the beauty in front of you. But most importantly, he was really trying to connect with you emotionally. And I feel like that is what the most powerful work, in my opinion, is that kind of work, because it's an interactive experience with you. And you have your own moments, and that makes it a living document. It continues to move on in your world, in my world, but every time someone walks by it. And that was so interesting to me. So that's informed my work. A whole bunch.
Yes. So, Robin, I just wanted to say that I paint with you and your friend. I'm probably now 65 over 85 paintings. And that I really feel that whenever we were in class together, your mood or what you were going for in life does so represented in your painting. Like there's some that are very calm, they have the lines, and then some are much more expressive and much louder. That I was very quiet, and I think that we're very good at expressing your feelings onto a canvas. And when you're looking at it, they just touch you, and you feel that emotion is your fine.
I appreciate that. Thank you. And that is so true. That's when we get into the discussion process, that is definitely what it's based on. And I would say materials. And being in class, we're all asking, do you have this? Do you have that? Well, I've got oil sticks, chalk pastel, oil pastel, graphite, charcoal. So it's a material-based process, and it's really informed by whatever I grab, and it's all intuitive. So it just happens. Whatever we're feeling. But did that really answer the question?
Yeah, tell us a little bit about us. No, it was great. But I also wanted to make the point that Peter Frank does. There's an essay out on the education station where books are, and I encourage you to grab a copy after the conversation today and read it. Peter Franks is a very notable LA art critic. And in fact, if you watch the video, you'll see he's in conversation with Robin at her studio. And he has some very insightful things to say. But one of the points that he makes that I think is important is that, yes, Robin is working in the tradition of abstract expressionists, and she is following along in the style of some artists, but then she takes it to the next level. So it's not about trying to replicate necessarily the work that they're doing, but find some avenue of her own within the context of those stylistic choices, the gesture, the color, the physicality, the multimedia aspects of it. All of that informed the work. And I think that's especially important considering that we're in Southern California and abstract expressionism was never really a popular style here. I mean, it was birthed in New York on the East Coast, post-war. And then we have a lot of San Francisco artists that worked historically in that style, but it is a kind of unique style for this area. Hey, Linda.
I was wondering, a lot of these are really super energetic. How do you, these are large, so how do you keep up that energy, throughout the entire painting?
Great question. It goes along with the abstract expressionism theme we have Kelly on here. Gesture, body movement, and energy are a lot about that era. And that's why I think I fell into it, because I had too much energy. I'm like a mini atomic bomb most days. So a lot of that just has to explode somewhere. So I find that it's a way to wear myself out. If you have a dog and you have to walk every day, this is my walk. This is the way I get things out. It's a good question because I'm very grateful you're picking up on the energy aspect. There is a ton of energy just vibrating in these works. And they are typically healing energy. They're good energy. It's not about being mad, although I might start that way, but there could be 3 or 4 paintings underneath what you're looking at. So you're looking at sort of an arcology, like a dig of several different moments in one painting session. And that energy is layered on each other and then excavated and then put back down. By the time I'm done, I have to pour myself a nice something and I sit down and I'm exhausted. I'm really, really tired. And not only that, but my friends here see me hoisting in 8-foot pieces of canvas on this giant roll and I'm sweating and and it's work. It's like I'm climbing up this ladder and I'm down and I'm up and down on chairs and all around, and then I just fall apart when I get home. So it's really a release. There's a lot of energy.
In how long do you typically work on a painting for? Is it there's one session and you exhaust yourself over a period of time, or do you go back to them and rework into them?
The second session.
Can you go back?
Rarely. This was one maybe 30-minute thing. It just came out. And those are beautiful. We all love those. The artists in the room understand that that's phenomenal and that can happen. But most of them are reworking. And the reworking comes from, it's speaking to me, but it's not loud enough and I'm not sure what it's asking for, so I'm going to wait. I'm going to put that over there. I actually turn them around. I wait. I sleep on it. I come back and I turn it around, don't look. And then I walk in the back of the room and I open my eyes and then whatever it says, I go. But it's sometimes they're reworking and sometimes they sit there for 3 or 4 years and I come back to rework them. So to answer the question of how much time, it could be years or it could be minutes, but I'll know right away. Some of them, I would say, I never say any of them are mistakes because they're always informing me along the way to where they tell me they're complete, so I am complete. But there are a lot of mistakes underneath, a lot of things that I rework, and that is always infuriating. But they do tell me to stop, and it could be in 30 minutes or it could be 3 years. Question.
I'm not an artist, but I really like the color, the energy of your hard work. I'm just kind of learning. Can you explain the process a little bit? I can imagine standing in front of these big white canvases. I mean, do you get like an impulse and you just do like an emotional gut on it? Or are you testing different media and then mixed media? Or I mean, where does it start and where does it go?
Great question. Really good. Thank you, Guy. Looking at a white canvas never scared me. The bigger the better. Like, I want it to feel like it's atmospheric. Like it's going to take the birthday. That feels fun. And most people, that's terrifying. But for me, for some reason, it's not scared. I love it. In fact, the bigger the better. And then it's like your car when you get it new. And you get that first scratch and you're like, okay, it's done. I can do it. So I just take a piece of charcoal or chalk and I just go all over it and have a great time. And then I think, okay, now it's scratched. I'm done. Now I can do whatever I want. And then the mind calms. And then the very next thing is color. I choose the color according to a feeling on high. Not necessarily like something I'm trying to work out, but maybe a lot of the work is informed by memory. That's what a lot of this is about. So I'll recall. It's a recollection and then develop from the recollection. And the recollection will have a color type to it. So I'll pick my color, and then the first color, I'll think, oh my, that's not dark enough. I need to work right on top of dark, and then I go, wait, no, shut up. Just do what you want to do with the colors. It doesn't have to be in any order, and take a step back, and then just start putting color on. And the bigger the brush, the better at first, and then work smaller, smaller as I layer on top. Then I might literally sand it all off and start at a burr, put down ephemeral pieces of important paper to me, and those all have meaning. So find those things when you look at the work. I would love to answer questions about anything you find. They range from 1920 to year 2016, the work, any pieces of paper you see in here. So those go on last because they have meaning, and paper has meaning for me. It's a continuity, it's a history, it's something that gives it the detail. I'll paint over those sometimes. Alcohol it off, go back over it, and then work it in paint with more color, and then line work is the last step. So maybe some gestural line work with charcoal, with chalk or something. And some of them don't have that because I feel like they're just saying, I'm good the way I am, rather just leave me alone. The gestures are fine. But I have reworked them. God knows I've done that. We've all done that. But I tend to stop when I feel like it's said I'm done. And that's usually with the mark that you see last on top, which is typically charcoal, chalk, or graphite.
She puts on a show.
They're watching you sweat up and down and all around. Oh, and I painted Sarah. Everybody owns in class has something of my thing on it. I mean, I'm slinging, it's hate is everywhere. And the Art Center has had to repaint their walls, most likely for me, because I have destroyed that room. So, yes, good question.
That is a good question, and I wanted to kind of jump off of that question because in your statement about this exhibition, we talk about echoes as part of a listening process.
Yes.
And there's obviously an active listening process involved while you're working. You're listening, you're describing the work as talking to you, and you're listening to what it's saying all throughout the process. But I wanted to look at it from 5,000 feet and talk about the listening process in terms of before you even set pen to paper or charcoal to canvas, you're incorporating these other components, these pieces of ephemera. So you're listening to those stories. How do you make those choices? When did you start making the choice to incorporate this ephemera? And what stories are you trying to tell? What does this mean for you?
Thank you for that. I appreciate you recognizing the Yayowski pieces.
I would say that the echoes that I hear are the characters we all carry with us every day. They're your critics. They're your parents sending you love messages. They're your friends. They're your grandparents. And in my case, it's a very strong conversation with my grandmother. A lot of this work. It's all those characters in your life that somehow influenced who you've become. And those echoes, along with the Jones and the Elects and my heroes, my girl crushes, all the artists that I love, they're all there. And they're whispering wonderful things to keep me going. And then there's the whole cast of characters that are my own critics inside of me that come out and want to destroy it completely. And those echoes are the hardest ones because I have to fend them off and fight them and tell them, no, you're not going to be here today. But they all play a part in who I've decided who I want to be at this, like I told you, point in time, this juncture where I'm letting go of a lot of things that no longer serve me and I'm moving forward. And these echoes are now softer when they're starting to not scream, but whisper. And the gestures are starting to soften and become a more present listening thing too. And all of those characters and all that information from our childhoods, our backgrounds, even for me, my lineage, because I'm proud Scot. And my grandmother was very proud of her Scottishness. So all those echoes come in and play into the one. They're there with me. So they're all present here. That leads into maps, which for some reason I have this fine fascination with maps. Maybe it's because I feel like I'm going places, or maybe places I want to go, or where I've been and I'm tracking it, or maybe I feel like there are bird's eye view and that feels like freedom to me. I feel connected to the lines. So I'm always looking at maps, ancient maps to current day maps, Thomas guides. Oh my gosh, y'all. If you have any left, give them to me. I love them. The grid lines make me feel comfortable, but most of the maps you'll see were for all my grandmothers. So I started with Thomas guides because I came here when I was 22 to California, and they didn't even have Thomas guides yet. It was the fold out, put on your trunk of your wood, old school map. And my dad taught me highlight where you're going to go. But there was no turn right, turn left. And then Thomas Guide came out and you could see the different sections. And I'm like, wow, this is awesome. All colors, all the lines.
Oh, you were driving.
Yeah, whips, whipping gauges,
Great.
And I loved all that. So that's how it started, this Thomas Guides. And then my grandmother passed away and we went to her farm, which we've been in the family since 1875. And that was, a time capsule. She was somewhat of a hoarder, so I had material from literally the turn of the century to the day she died, from National Geographic magazines to Amish newspapers to books, hymnals, maps, sewing patterns being issued, seamstress, wallpaper, wrapping paper, you name it. It was all there. So I collected it. And I came back, and most of the work you see here, even though it's an 8-year journey, it's an 8-year an emotional journey, because nothing in here is more than 5 years old. So all of that ephemeral work, all ephemeral material, then it became a very material-based process. The lace on this one is her tablecloth that was full of holes, and I decided to cut it up and put it in there, and her wallpaper's in there, an article about a bride being married in the local newspaper. So that became important to connect with our lineage and our history. And I felt like it's such an important lesson because I felt like the world we live in today with the electronics, the screens, there's really good things to all of that. But the bad news is nobody gets to touch paper anymore and feel things and read out the book. And they're losing sight of their past. And I feel somewhat like I'm a messenger and a recorder of time. And I deserved it. Yes, I did a picture. So I feel I want to record so much of the material that was part of our lives. Everyone in this room is Gen X or older. So we have lived with paper our whole lives. And it's easy to connect to. And I feel the continuity of paper is important. And you'll see that throughout everything. So that became important suddenly, and I started adding it into every single, like that entire wall back there, those 12 paintings have something from her house, keys, of parts of a kimono. I mean, just name it. And I think that grounds us in a point in time. And what my point in doing that is to not only remember mode, but is to give you all a chance to connect with your nostalgia, your body, is the time and the memory that you carry, your echoes. And it gives you a chance to reconnect with that in a way that maybe today you wouldn't have had a chance to do. So that's a really important question. Yes.
Because it's more of a comment, but as you're talking about the unwrap, I'm just kind of looking around and realizing that like everything is so organic, all your gesture, everything, because there's not a right angle.
Yeah.
And the little pieces of paper, like the maps, text, fonts, everything is always so organized and graphic. So it's like a really cool play between this organic, I mean, this painting, the blue on the white, to me that just looks like an emotional healing exorcism,
It was.
And then you have these other little pieces. I was just kind of noticing that. I didn't notice it opening night.
Well, that's a very interesting observation and an important one. I mentioned Deventhorn. So I am pressing things in corners and creating a focal point with that material. So that's important. Thank you for recognizing that. And you're right, everything is organic. And what's the funny thing about that is my mom would tell you my house looks like it's lived in, but it's museum quality cleanness. Like it's just always organized. I have to have that for my brain to function on a daily basis. But as my student friends understand, I am a chaotic mess. I come home and I have paint in my bra. Like I don't know, like how I got it in my hair, on my nose, and I'm a mess, and I'm messy, and everything's messy. So it's my alter ego that you're seeing. Everything here is very relaxed when I go.
Like freedom.
So everything is very art. And here's the kicker: I plan everything and ask my mom. I'm like 3 years in advance. I'm planning, and but with this, the element of chance is my friend. And I love it. A drip here, a drip that, go, girl, go. Just drip, drip, drip. I love it. So it's such an alter state for me. It's an alter personality. And it's freedom for me.
Oh, I like mad you because it takes like that courage to put yourself out there and be so raw in your expression and so honest and put your life, your family, your history, everything out there and for everybody to see. So good on you.
It is scary.
But it takes a lot of courage. So good girl. But speaking of freedom, there's a whole series of works that you call your Freedom series. Do you want to talk a little bit about that?
Great lead in. So the library, the educational area out in this hallway where the bathrooms are and the entire space out there is called Freedom Studies. And they were real just studies. I lined up paper on the wall, and the first day I didn't remove the walls. This is the art studio that we have here, and worked with charcoal and chalk and oil pastels to loosen up. And I just was having a day, and I don't even want to go on a 72-inch canvas right now. I need to calm down a little bit. Whoever said I had energy, I need to get a little out because I actually poked a hole in one once because I got going too fast. So it was a way for me to just feel free and not judge myself and not judge it, whatever came out. So those were real honest, real, really just an explosion of pureness. I don't know how to explain it. And they were fun. So we included them in the show to demonstrate how you might go from something like that to the big one on the back from Gnashing of Petite to the one in this room where you're seeing large movement. So I'll start. It's hard for me to we're small, but that is torture. Like absolutely, you want to kill me? That's the way to do it. Like I can't do it. So those were fun to do. They were different, but that's what I call Freedom series.
Well, speaking of working small, you've got this whole series in the back that you said includes pseudo-really referential material. There's pieces of, about pages out of books, there's keys, there's all that stuff. but they're also very small and very compact. So what was your thought process behind those? Because it's clearly like you're working in a series there.
That was hard. That was really, really hard. And I originally had them all on the wall together so they created one canvas. So I thought I'd cheat. I was like, and if they make a bigger surface or substrate, then I'll feel better because I need to move. You know, to work like this is just too hard. So I had them that way originally. And I started working on them and it wasn't working. And then a friend of mine called up and she's a member of a yacht club. She said, we need some small work. So I started doing this little right. It wasn't fun because it was something someone told me to do. And they created these cool like blocks of color, but I didn't like them. So then I put them all on the wall again, put them all together, didn't white them out. So there's actually 5 versions underneath what the last iteration is of that. But it was a forced thing because it did 100 degrees and I said, now I work inside. So I brought them all on my table and it forced me to sit down. And it was a fun exercise in seeing how I could expand in a different way. But they look tight for a reason. Because I felt that way. I have to move my body. It's just too hard to work like that. But those were fun. They were meditative and went very meditative. Any other questions about Salvador?
So do you find, did you have a struggle at any point in time being classically trained and working with materials in the classical sense? It has to be, we're giving such an understanding foundation that archival is everything, right? Archival is archival that. And then we had a couple artists who broke that mold, Ross Heiberg and Justin Johns, started Adrian Faber and non-archival elements. Do you have any dichotomy? Did you have any stretch with your formal training and then your own integration of pieces that are, you for a moment will fall apart or degrade or get exposed to UV light, unlike the other areas of your hand? So I'm interested in that depredation potential over time with pieces that aren't archival, aren't acid-free, playing cards, newspapers, and all of that with archival canvas and archival paints, and some interesting juxtaposition. And so wanted to touch upon that.
Good question. The formal training gave me a sense of craftsmanship. That was like a big deal. Front and the back that was just as polished, right? So that was always on my mind. The paints I use are archival. The varnishes are archival. But what's interesting is the things that are not in it will begin to create their own different colors and fade, or hopefully not fade because I do put UV varnish on it, but they will then become part of the aging process that changes the conversation, and they become their own little entity inside. I feel like because the work is organic, they then become an organic element with it by aging. And I feel like it's just part of the conversation and the thing. It's like there's a leap between old and new, or old and current, or past and present, and that is present. And it brings up a very good point. I'm always trying to connect past and present. So that is the most literal way I can do it. Unfortunately, they probably will change color and things, but I feel like that's just part of the organic process of what's going to happen anyway. But the past and present connection, and the idea of it being a relationship. We all deteriorate in our relationships, so there is a lot of that too. Good observation.
I'm curious to know, you said this show represents a 80-year exploration, 8-year body work. What lies ahead for Robert Jack Sarner? Are there new directions in your process, in your personal life? I mean, where do you see yourself in the next 8 years and your work?
Very question. That's something I've been thinking about a lot, because once you've completed a body of work, they be delivered a baby. You're just tired, and there's a rest period. And I feel like this year I'm working into residencies to help me find solitude and a point of connection that will help me explore the idea of the nervous system informing the gestures. So I would like to look at how our nervous system can be almost illustrated in real time with materials and how far I can take those materials to illustrate that. So I'm looking into doing some scientific research, some research on psychological aspects of how moving the body like that can help with cortisol, all those different things. So I'm looking at a future installation of work that has to do with the gesture and mark clicking being the most honest, informed piece of material that can illustrate your stress or happiness and everything in between. It's going to be very interesting. I can't even see I can see the colors, all right, and I can see the gestures, but I just need I need the solitude to find the background in it. I really need that. And I'm looking forward to that because I feel like that's where this is getting. It's getting into a space where how does the body work with the materials? And then how do their bodies respond to it? And almost to the point where I'd like to see an installation where people can feel the art. And then how do I record that? So those are all kinds of some interesting things that I'm looking into.
Yeah, it's kind of moving in the direction almost of art therapy.
Yes,
And I was wondering if that was something you wanted to explore. Clearly, there's a cathartic aspect to the art making. And then also, as the viewer, we all get to engage and connect with what you've made. But do you see yourself getting involved in maybe a teaching component where you could help people find their safe space, work through their anxieties or other issues with art?
yes. I mean, my dream job was an art therapist, but I could not get into UC and they have the only program and they only took 12 people. It's like, dang it, I'll just have to put this on the shelf for later. But I think it's turning into something that's interesting to me, Allison. I just want people to feel when they are looking at the work. I want them to connect with themselves. I want everyone to feel unapologetically human because I'm the underdog. I feel like I've always rooted for the underdog. I feel like I was misunderstood quite a bit as an art freak, in high school and all those things. So I'm speaking to you, to everybody that feels misunderstood, and I'm speaking like, be human. Just be human. Solve human stuff. You are recording our lives as we move through these together. And I think there is a component of healing that can happen. I know I feel that way in front of Ronco. So it can happen. That's something I would like to guess.
That's a really beautiful statement about your humanity. So does anybody have any questions?
Any more questions?
So here's what I propose. I think we have another hour. So what we'd like to do is just be available for Robin to walk around, talk about specific works of art if you have any questions about those, or just want to engage on an informal level. We encourage you to stay and do that. But I do want to take a moment to thank you all for time out of your busy day, coming, all the support and love that you've shown to Robin and to the Art Center. And I want to applaud Robin. Send it down, Chief.